Good afternoon, everyone. Bob Reagan-Weather with Farmers National Company. I'd like to give you a field conditions report from Iowa. I'm a area vice president for Farmers National. We specialize in farm management, real estate sales, energy management, hunting, leasing, variety of other services. But today I've got my farm manager hat on. I'm normally responsible for all of our farm managers in Iowa and southeast Minnesota, but today I'm out checking one of the farms that I still manage. I'm on a farm near Beeman, Conrad, Iowa, on the Grundy Marshall County border. This farm is actually just into Marshall County. I've worked with this farm for nearly 20 years. It's a very good farm. The CSR on it is well in the 90s. What I have behind me is a seed corn farm. We're a seed grower for a seed company in this area. So the seed that is produced from this farm is actually bagged up and sold to farmers next year and is used to grow commercial corn. You tend to find seed corn production on better quality farms, and this is one of the best farms in the state. I'm a little biased on that, but it's a very good farm. If you note behind me, with seed corn, the way it's grown, you'll plant 4 rows to what they call the female rows. That'll be one seed type. And then the 5th row is a different seed type, and that's called the male row. And during the growing season, they will cut off all the tassels on the female rows, but they will leave the male row in place, and that male row will pollinate the seed in those female rows. Once the pollination has fully occurred, the seed company will come in and remove the male row. And you'll see that behind me, this big area. That was once a male row, and they came out and physically cut that row out. They do that to enhance the consistency of the seed quality when they harvest it in the fall. There's no risk of that male row seed polluting or mixing, making the seed you're selling the farmer next year less pure. So that's one of the reasons they do that. The other thing you'll notice here is the plants are starting to brown. Now, while it's been very dry in Iowa this year, this particular area has caught more rain. And what's causing this browning is not actually the dry weather. The seed company will come in after pollination has occurred and after the seed is maturing, and they'll actually come in and spray salt water on the plants to kill the plants prematurely. And that's what's causing these plants to brown. In another couple of weeks, they'll be totally brown. They do that because it helps enhance the germ ability of the seed. The seed's going to be more consistently going to grow next spring. So that's one of the reasons they come in and spray salt water. So let's go in here. We'll take a look at the plants and some ears, and I'll show you what we're looking at for seed corn ears at this point. All right, so I pulled some husks off some ears. This is an example of a plant that didn't pollinate the greatest. While it's got some kernels on it, you can see it's missing. There's some areas that did not pollinate, and we're not going to have any seed growing here. So that's maybe a sign of the dry conditions we've had this summer. Second ear, kind of a similar deal, and it's a very small ear, really tiny. So again, I think that might be a sign of dry conditions. This ear is better. That's a pretty good looking ear for seed corn. Pollinated all the way up, nice size ear. And then this last plant, same deal, more of the same. It's a more consistent ear, fully pollinated. Seed corn ears do not tend to be as big as the commercial corn that will be grown from this next year. I can put my finger all the way around that ear. And with commercial, if you got a good ear of commercial corn, I can barely, my hand would be more like this. So it's a smaller ear in general, but this is not unusual for seed corn. As you look down the rows here, the other thing you'll notice with the seed corn is the plants themselves are not as big. I'm a little over 6 foot tall, and these plants here aren't much taller than that. So the height of the corn is not as vigorous as what the next year's crop will be with the commercial corn. Commercial corn, a lot of times you're looking at plants that are nearly 8 foot tall. So we'll move over to some soybeans. This is the other part of this farm. Was in commercial corn last year. We planted it to soybeans this year. Looks very good. You can see it's almost weed free, which is what we want. When I was in Blackhawk County earlier in the day looking at farms there, it's been drier up in that part of the world. And the soil quality tends to vary a little bit more up there than we're finding in this area. Not quite as good a farm ground. And up there, the corn was prematurely dying, and a lot of the corn plants are starting to turn brown. And when I got into the soybean fields, saw a lot of yellowing of leaves, beans starting to be impacted by the dry weather. You'll notice on this farm here, very little of that. And I think that's a sign of the soil quality. Again, this is a 90-95 CSR farm, so it's got really deep reserves, good carbon levels. And that comes out in how the plants take the dry weather that we've been seeing. When you look at the plants themselves, you know, we've got good healthy plants here. Pods coming up. That actually is a Japanese beetle, if you can see that. Got a few bugs here. I see a grasshopper right there, but nothing to be concerned about. I pulled a plant here and it is just loaded with pods from top to bottom, and nice sized pods on there, 3 beans to a pod. I'm really surprised actually how good the beans look, because it has been dry. Most of Iowa is probably 8 to 10 inches under normal. We'll get 32 inches of rainfall in a year, and this year we're probably more at maybe 20 at this point. I'll be able to track that when I get back. I've got a climate app that will track how much rain we've gotten per farm. But the crops are holding up remarkably well, and I think some of that's a testament to current genetics that we have, modern management practices, the way we take care of our crops. But it's not going to be, I think while it's going to be a pretty good year here, it's not going to be a record year. It's just been a little too dry for that. So that's the report that I have for you for this time of year in Northeast Iowa. If you ever have any questions about farming or farm management or real estate, you know, feel free to reach out to me or any other agent that works for Farmers National Company. You have a good day.